The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by HotMovies.com. Try out some ethical, paid-for porn for free with none of those hidden fees or secret subscriptions when you sign up at HotMovies.com and use the promo code MANWHORE. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all those filthy, disgusting pay pigs and pay sluts and the slutty pigs too. This is Billy Procida and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. I've got on the tech dom herself, Mistress Harley. This is an episode that's literally been years in the making. By the way, thank you all for the phenomenal feedback about the Leah Vernon episode. I'm thrilled that so many of you not only enjoyed her, but the topics we discussed really resonated with many of you. Don't forget to go get her book, Unashamed, Musings of a Fat Black Muslim. I actually just gave away a free copy of the book, which I think came out yesterday, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I gave away a free copy over on Instagram. Are you not following me on Instagram? Well, then that was your problem. Head on over to @BillyIsProcida. I am not shadow banned anymore, so come on over. The only people who knew about this giveaway were the people who follow me on Instagram and the people who are subscribed to my mailing list. Because I did a little email blast that day, be like, hey, heads up, there's a giveaway happening over on IG. Of course, you can sign up for my mailing list at manwhorepod.com. That's how you stay up to date with all the latest Man Whore Podcast news. Sometimes you go into a little lull, you fall behind on the podcast episodes, but you don't want to miss out on an exciting announcement. Again, manwhorepod.com, and fill in your zip codes, people. I got to know where you are so I know where to bring the show. And now I want to share one email before we go forward with this week's programming, because this was a fun one. The subject line is forehead slap. Comes from Steven. He writes, I am emailing you today to have a laugh at my expense. I was listening to episode 263 with Carolyn Bergier. God damn it. I used to know how to say this last name. I was listening to episode 263. It was fun to listen to the two of you diking out until you got to the end, which had me screaming profanities at both of you in my car on my way to work. You were both geeking out on Rosie O'Donnell, and I'm like, Rosie O'Donnell? I call bullshit. Billy, you are almost never hypocritical, save for rimming, but that's another story. Normally, you are the one who calls out people's hypocrisy, but celebrating her coming out on a guest podcast. She is a racist fuck who has no business getting any airtime with either of you. Why would either of you gush about her when she obviously doesn't support anything y'all stand for? Yes, I truly cursed at you from the safety of an old 2003 GMC Sierra. It wasn't until 5 minutes or so later that I realized, Rosie O'Donnell, Roseanne Barr. Not the same person. Then I had a good long laugh that I thought the entire time the two of you were gushing over Roseanne Barr. I humbly apologize for all the curse words thrown your way, and I am grateful you are not giving Roseanne Barr any airtime. Cheers, Billy. Steven. Well, it is funny because while I read this email before he gave his review, I was like, I think he doesn't know the difference between Rosie and Roseanne. But by the way, Carolyn and I both have really great podcasts with lots of listeners, but it put our listeners together and then multiply it by 10. That's still not even close to the type of audience and fan base that Roseanne Barr or Rosie O'Donnell have. If we were to have them on, we're not giving them airtime. Roseanne Barr does not need the Man Whore Podcast or diking out to get airtime. She can just do it because she's Roseanne. And there are a lot of people excited to listen to whatever racist, ambient-fueled nonsense she's got coming out. The whole deep platforming talk, I think, is kind of silly because it's usually done when talking about like really, really big people. And you know what? If you remember Johnny Stone, remember that cam boy, Johnny Stone? Good kid. He was like, he doesn't care if his Instagram gets shut down because he knows that he has his fans, and his fans are going to follow him to wherever he is. So that's not the issue. The issue is what's the conversation like? If I have Roseanne Barr on, if I were ever so lucky, what conversation am I having with her? Am I playing nicey nice and being starstruck that I'm with Roseanne? Or am I taking her to task? Am I being upfront? Am I not pulling my punches? And also, you can't. Jesus, I feel like people who listen to my show would know that I believe in the fact that what are we going to do? Just sit around and agree with each other all the time? Are we just going to talk to people that we already agree with? Remember the Byron Sadiq episode when we were talking about pickup artists? I've gotten so much feedback from that episode, way more than the wonderful, awesome sex educators I've had on here. I didn't just let the guy spout off about pickup. I kind of pushed back a bit and I tried to connect. Look, all I'm trying to say is if Roseanne Barr, if you're listening, if you want to do the Man Whore podcast, you are always welcome. Just know that I would be, very open and very honest with you. But Stephen, I'm glad you realized your own mistake. So wonderful. And if you want to send me your comments, your questions, your outrages, your titty pictures, you can send that all on over to manwhorepod@gmail.com. All right. So I know it's been a long time since Mia. Hashtag hire Mia. Trust me, I still want to. But I have moved on to my next intern. And I wanted to introduce her a little bit. Sophia, who will just be known as Sophia the intern. She is a fantastic gal, and she's really interested in podcasting. So I'm very excited working with her this semester. She's going to be doing a few segments over the next couple of months. She's going to be doing some lady on the street segments on topics, talking to her fellow college students, her peers about various topics. All right, so she'll be doing this fun recurring segment called Sex in the Quad with Sophia the intern. And I just want to introduce her and her segment. This week's topic, the first topic she tackled was DM slides. Sliding into the DMs, the pros, the cons, the tips, the tricks, and the follies. So, really, without further ado, here's Sophia the intern.
Hey everyone, welcome to Sex in the Quad. I'm Sophia the intern. So in today's segment, I'm going to be talking to college students about DM slides. I basically walked all around the quad and just walked up to my fellow students asking them about their experiences and their feelings about people sliding into their direct messages. I was surprised to find out that there were actually a lot less people than I initially imagined who appreciated DM slides or who were all about the DM slides. I feel like the stereotype a lot of the time with this younger generation of, kids who are in college right now is just that people are always thirsty or people are always just trying to slide into each other's DMs on social media. But I found it very surprising that the people that I talked to said they found DM slides to be very superficial, to be vain sometimes, to be too focused on the aesthetics and the visuals of the person. And honestly, at the end of the day, I think a lot of us just want to feel valued based on our personality and based on our heart and on what's inside of us, not just the outside appearance, regardless of how you look. One of these people featured in the segment actually slid into my DMs. Can you believe that? So it was basically after midnight when, I was just laying in my bed, browsing Instagram, and then all of a sudden, my phone went off. It blew up. So he hit me up all I can't go to sleep right now. And then I was like, count sheep? ? Because I just honestly did not know what to say to this man. I didn't know what kind of sleep prescription aids he wanted me to give him. But yeah, I was exhausted at that point. And then he asked, where on campus do you live? And all these super basic questions. Now let's hit the quad and talk to some students about DM slides. Do you ever laugh at their jokes?
No.
have you ever slid into someone's DMs before?
Yes, I have.
No.
Yes.
I actually have not. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have not personally slid into someone's DMs.
No, unless you count LinkedIn.
I'm not that kind of girl.
No.
No.
No. Have you ever thought about sliding into someone's DMs?
Yes, but I don't because I think I'm going to get embarrassed.
Why do you feel like you might get embarrassed if you slide into someone's DMs?
Because I just feel like some girls are stuck up. I just don't think they would answer me back. I would slide into like a famous person DMs just because. I did Beyonce a couple times, but that doesn't count.
Did Beyonce ever answer you?
Oh, she's never seen it. I look every day. Let me look at it.
Has anyone ever slid into your DMs?
People have indeed slid into my DMs.
Yes, somebody has.
When I committed here for football, a lot of girls just slid in my DMs.
Oh, yeah. Guys slide into my DMs.
So there was one senior guy, my freshman year, who added me on Instagram, and I thought it was super cool because he was like this like big shot football player. And he slid into my DMs. He said, "What's your Snapchat? Can I add you? Let's talk." It turns out that like him and his friends are doing this kind of thing where they could see how many freshmen they could hook up with. And that was like kind of a culture at my school. After that, I was a little bit more ashamed, maybe.
And how does it make you feel when people slide into your DMs?
Kind of uncomfortable.
Kind of confused.
Guys want to feel wanted, too. It's 2019, you know?
It honestly makes me feel pretty special. And I know it takes a lot of balls to just say something to a girl.
Honestly, it just seems kind of slimy, and most of the time when people do it, their intentions are kind of nasty.
I feel that's the equivalent of being catcalled on the street. Damn, Ma, you're so fine. I'm trying to see what's good between those thighs. Like, no one has ever slid into my DMs like that, but I have been catcalled, and it's the same kind of feelings I have about it. Like, that's just gross. Like, ew, that's not going to make me want to talk to you. It just makes me think you're a gross person. I've been in group chats with my friends, and like we're all laughing and making fun of them.
It was really funny because we all went to a boarding school, so we lived together. He was literally in my building. He slid into my DMs and was like, "Hey, do you want like to meet up sometime later this weekend?" Yes, it was flattering to know that he kind of like wanted to pursue me in some way, but also like he could have just talked to me in person, because we were literally in the same building.
So what is your go-to move? What is the Mark move for sliding to someone's DMs?
The Mark move is short and simple. It's maybe a little compliment, and then my Snapchat. I like to go straight into Snapchat mode.
What is your success rate with sliding into girls' DMs?
I am 2 for 2.
So what is a way that people could slide into your DMs successfully? What would you recommend to them?
The best way is to respond to an Instagram story. If it's about a place, be like, "Oh my gosh, like I've been there, like where did you go?" Something that's like a question that's not like, "Oh my God, give me your phone number" type thing. Be like genuine and like just ask a question that's not necessarily flirting yet, but you'll get there.
I think my style is trying to be goofy and funny. 'Cause I'm gay, so I'm sliding into girls' DMs, and I feel like it's easier for a girl to slide into a girl's DMs because if you just make them laugh, they're like, "Oh." So my ex-girlfriend, we were together for 2 years. I slid into her DMs. I sent her a picture of a baseball. And I said, "Oops, my baseball accidentally landed in your DMs. Could you return it by signing it with your name and number?"
I don't want a girl to be thirsty for me because that means she doesn't have a lot of confidence. Confidence.
What makes you say that?
Because if you're like a girl that has a lot of confidence, you wouldn't slide in guys' DMs. Like, it's usually the guy that talks to the girl first.
Interesting. So do you feel like it's more okay for a guy to slide into a girl's DMs?
Yeah, completely. I don't think it's good for a girl just going around sliding in DMs. That makes you look thirsty.
This has been Sex in the Quad with Sophia the intern.
Yeah, I do not understand what the fuck is the deal with Snapchat. She spoke to like, I don't know, about 15 kids, and I listened to all the audio from all the kids, and so many of them mentioned that like sliding into DMs pretty much was hitting up someone on Instagram to ask for their Snapchat. And then if the Snapchat talk goes well enough, you can get their phone number. And I'm like, you do realize these are all DMs. What the fuck is the difference? As I'm recording this, like Snapchat is trending on Twitter. And I'm like, well, then how are the college kids going to fuck each other? I don't know what they're going to do. They may have to, I don't know, message someone on Facebook. But yeah, interesting stories. Oh man, that one dude though. The first tip I had for Sophia was, yeah, when you have someone giving you gold, even if it's a sexist and shitty gold, yeah, keep them talking because they'll just keep hanging themselves. What you heard from that guy was about everything we got from him, and I was so disappointed because I would have just played 10 minutes of him sounding like a dick. But that was fun. So thank you, Sophia, the intern, for that first inundation of sex in the quad. Before we get to this week's guest, Mistress Harley, it's time for the fan whore appreciation moment. Okay. This is the part of the podcast where I like to thank some of the members of my fan whore community on Patreon. Shout out to Carla Kidd, Fly Me to the Moon, or just the Bay Area, you pretty. Hey girl, thank you so much for your support. Shout out to Josh Martin. Yeah, you're no longer in last place. He's in our Fan Whore Fantasy Football League, and he finally got his second win of the season. We're very proud of the manager of a team called Rub My Chub. I look forward to squaring up with you later in the season. And I want to say thank you to Megan Ixum, my girl, my lady. She's who I've been dating, which is a weird way to announce that I'm dating someone, through the fact that she also pledges to my Patreon in support, because she makes way more money than me. But if you follow me on Instagram, you've been seeing me post over the last couple of months with a really pretty lady, Megan, at Miss Giggles. I'm sure you'll hear plenty more about her in the coming weeks and months. But thank you, baby, for the little monthly tip. And a shout out to Nick Griffith. You know what? You came and you went so quick. I bet you saw the nudes and you ran, which is a fair reaction. So thank you for your momentary support of the show. And you too can become a member for as little as $2 per month. Being a member gives you access to secret, sex-positive discussion groups, bonus episodes of the Man Whore podcast, and a bunch of other awesome behind-the-scenes content. Become a member today at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And now for this week's guest, Mistress Harley. Mistress Harley is a financial dominatrix. And in my opinion, she's like the financial dominatrix. Or at least she's the one who talks to the press the most. She is quite well known for being able to convince a man to just give her money with really nothing in return sometimes. It's wild. It's crazy. As many of you know, I have dipped my toes into the findom realm. I've had I called her a pay slut because pay pig. I didn't want to call a lady a pig. That was a boundary, so I said pay slut. But I had one of those for a while. That was fun. I have had a random guy or two on Twitter. You know, when I use the hashtag Cashmaster, they slide into my DMs like, "Oh, hello, sir. Can I please give you $50 so you can go on the phone and call me a little bitch?" Those are fun. Would love to have more of that, to be honest. I miss my findom days. But Mistress Harley here literally wrote the book on findom. She's a fantastic resource, really cool chick. Her husband's fun. And, I'm excited to share her with you. So I'm going to shut my fucking pig face. And let's go do a little cash point meet with Mistress Harley. Financial domination is all the rage. Findom, sugar babying, all of these non-escorting realms of sex work. These narratives, they're hot, they're heavy, they're erotic, and you want to jerk it to them. Well, I've got a great porn for you. Go watch the movie Screwing Wall Street, The Arrangement Finders IPO, starring former guest of the show, Veronica Vane. And you can go watch that movie at hotmovies.com. Yeah. Hotmovies.com is a pay-per-minute porn site. It's a ethical and affordable way to hashtag pay for some of your porn. But you can also rent films directly or just buy the film outright and watch as many times as you want. Want to keep reliving Veronica Vane just taking rich dudes for their money over and over again? You can. And HotMovies.com is going to give my listeners a very special deal. You're going to get 20 extra minutes on top of any package you sign up for when you use promo code MANWHORE at HotMovies.com. You can even sign up for a free trial. Your credit card will not be charged. Sign up for the free trial. You're going to get 40 minutes instead of 20. It's a great deal. I use it myself for some of my porn watching habits. So head on over to hotmovies.com, use promo code MANWHORE, hashtag pay for just a sprinkle of your porns. And now let's get to the show.
All right, this is Mistress Harley. I'm a financial dominatrix, and I make men into bitches.
Needs no introduction. She'll do it herself.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
Okay, how long now?
Actually, I just had my 5-year domiversary.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much.
That makes so much sense because I think I must have been following you for about the beginning then. Because
you've been a fan for years.
I'm not even a sissy little bitch. I'm just like, I'm thoroughly impressed by you. I'm just like, you just ask for the money?
Yeah, well, I don't ask, I tell.
Yeah. So wait, what even got you into Findom then?
Well, I had been doing some like pro dom work, just being a general professional bitch. And I discovered financial domination as a fetish just, on the internet. And I thought, yeah, that is really made for me. Like that is a calling that I've just been missing out on. And so I did a little research on it and it was so natural. And I'd experienced financial domination relationships in my vanilla life, as many people have, where, I'd had boyfriends that like I never had sex with, but bought me like a lot of really nice stuff.
I don't know if that's a super common experience.
It is. For beautiful women, it is.
For beautiful women. Okay.
Beautiful women get whatever they want. Men give them whatever they want. We don't have to give them anything. So once you've had that experience and you kind of connect it to this fetish of financial domination, you're like, of course.
This is probably one of the fetishes that I have the hardest time explaining to like vanilla folk because they kind of get the BDSM because they're like, oh, there's a physical thing involved. Okay, maybe they're not touching his cock, but we get it. We can kind of see it. But the whole Findom thing seems to escape them. Like they just give the money. Like what is it that makes dudes want to do that?
Well, if you think about it, there are a lot of different things that men can get out of the financial domination fetish. And of course, everyone is different. So some men kind of have that sugar daddy feeling, but they know they're not good enough to actually have sex with one of these girls. And so they get pleasure from providing, from knowing that they contribute to a beautiful woman living a life of luxury. They can be part of a woman's life, but not in a position that they couldn't be in. So you can't be my boyfriend, but you could pay for my manicures. It's kind of like being able to take part in a celebrity life. But other men, they enjoy the humiliation of getting robbed, like of giving someone money and receiving nothing in return. What's more humiliating than that? So if you're into humiliation, like giving someone all your money and having them laugh in your face is pretty good.
Yeah, but you also got to be able to afford that type of lifestyle. Like this is definitely one of the pricier things you could do in the realm of sex work. Do you consider Findom like a part of sex work?
Yeah, it's absolutely a part of sex work because generally the submissives are getting some kind of sexual satisfaction out of it, whether you interact with that or not. Yeah. So I know that guys pay me and then they run off and masturbate, whether I tell them to or not. But I would say that it doesn't have to be expensive. Like I have one slave who pays $8 every day. He just sends me $8 every day. And that adds up over time, but it's like a cup of coffee.
But for just $8, like does he get anything out of that? Does he even get an insult?
No,
not a single one. He just gets to quietly send that over.
Yeah.
Wow. One, I didn't even know that was an option because I would have thought
you can send me $8 every day, Billy. I wouldn't stop you.
When the Patreon hits a certain amount, maybe I can afford such a thing. But I would imagine like you would take that almost as an insult, no?
Why would I take receiving money as an insult?
Oh no, just to see if you can get them to give you more.
What I would take as insulting is if somebody expected something in return for their $8. So you give me $8. Like you said, you expect nothing. You're just happy knowing that you're giving this money to a woman that you could never date. If you give me $100 and you want, an email from me, like, okay, that's a kind of reasonable exchange. But to expect anything for $5 or $8, that would be a serious insult.
Sure. Well, who are these dudes that you were dating before that, just gave you money you didn't even fuck?
Just guys, I mean, I don't know. One guy worked in the software industry. He loved buying me shoes. We'd go shoe shopping all the time.
Do they know you're not going to fuck them? Or is it just more like you play hard to get? Are you being
dating,
prudent?
do you know if someone's going to fuck you or not? Like
after a few dates, yeah, I have an idea.
Well, maybe they just were hopeful or optimistic or weren't that smart. Like, honestly, I don't care. Like, what's important is that I get what I want out of the relationship. And the minute I don't get what I want, I'm on to the next relationship.
Well, then what would you want from a relationship aside from the money?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
It's like, what? This question doesn't compute
No,
to me.
it doesn't apply. Besides the money.
The money.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're if you were gonna fuck me, the condom should be made of money. Maybe
I would take the
should
money,
look like money
and still not fuck you.
Still not fuck
yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm, correct.
So does Mistress Harley does Mistress Harley fuck anybody?
I mean, I fuck my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I also, I can take lovers if I want to, and that's happened in the past. But I still have to be in control. It still has to be exactly what I want. Has to be whatever I want. I invited Dennis Rodman to have a threesome with me and my husband when I was on his podcast recently. He really seemed like compelled by this idea of my husband sitting in a corner and then like somebody coming into the room. And I was like, Dennis, that someone could be you.
I'm surprised Dennis didn't jump. What? Did he pause? He's losing his edge.
No, I mean, I think he was just at work. So he was just going with it. But
I just thought Dennis Rodman at this point is like just ready to go all the time. Maybe I'm projecting.
I'm still waiting for his phone call.
I would be genuinely shocked if Dennis Rodman, of all fucking people, didn't do it. That would have been really cool.
He really had a lot of questions, but you'll have to listen to the podcast. It's a season 2, episode 1 of On the Rebound.
Okay. And so have you always been so domineering?
Oh yeah, I'm Jewish, and so Jewish women are actually raised to completely dominate everybody around them, and especially men. So it was a really natural progression into my life of being a femdom and then a fine dom.
So what's like in high school? What's it like dating you?
Well, I'm dating older men in high school, and I'm making them buy me lots of nice presents, and sometimes totally ghosting them.
Where are these older men picking up the high school chick?
I mean, the internet.
So I should rephrase. Where are these criminals picking up the high school
they're
chick?
Not criminals because I didn't fuck them. There's no law that says a 30-year-old man can't buy a 16-year-old girl everything at the mall.
But then we read that Lolita book, and we're just like, and at some point, this is going to get uncomfortable.
Look, Humbert was a fucking loser, and Lolita knew exactly how to run that train.
Really, like old school dominatrix, that little Lolita chick. Like
Absolutely.
Does she grow up? She maybe grows up to be Mistress Harley.
Well, have you read Lolita?
Oh my God.
She does end up with another man, and Humbert is obsessed with her.
Right.
Follows her around. She's like, and in the film, it's I think Peter Sellers, right, plays both characters.
I haven't seen the movie. I only read the book.
Oh, you should watch the film. Stanley Kubrick.
It was so
Peter Sellers
uncomfortable.
plays 2 characters. Like, amazing. But yeah, she pretty much gets whatever the fuck she wants. And so, like when I say financial domination exists in these vanilla relationships, that's a perfect example.
Yeah. Well, so does that exist within your marriage?
Oh, well, my husband is my housewife. So, I mean, as any successful man would have like somebody at home doing all the dishes and the laundry and taking care of the domestics. That's what my husband does.
And
so
what kind of dowry did your housewife bring into the marriage?
Oh, I mean, I made him quit his job, and I told him that if he wanted to be with me, he had to like be a domestic servant basically, and that would be his role in our relationship. And he's taken to it really well.
That's got to be a lot of your like clients and followers' fantasies, though.
Of course it's their fantasy. Why do you think my husband loves his life? Like,
yeah, but so then how does this husband, like, where do you meet this husband? How does his journey begin?
Also the internet.
Starts as a pay pig?
Oh, no. We
Or?
met through regular dating, but I just made it clear, like, this is what I do. This is what I expect. You know, I was very clear on the first date about all of my expectations. Yeah. And he seemed to think that was great. So, you know, it really is the fantasy. And I think a lot of submissives, if they work hard enough and they turn themselves into a creature that a woman like me would want, then anything's possible.
It's like, so where do you even learn about like this concept, like, you know, of DS and submission?
Well, I grew up mostly in the Bay Area. So,
oh, you did? Oh,
yes.
well, then that'll, you know, you get taught that's pre-K right
yeah,
there.
the fun streets of San Francisco. I was always hanging out in like the Haight and the Mission, and obviously found out about the sex clubs and like Mr. S. And I was always really into the look. You know, in film, you'd see a woman dressed as a dominatrix or in all leather looking really powerful. And I always... I think I was drawn to the fashion first, probably, and I wanted to embody that powerful woman. And obviously, the other activities just kind of came with it. Like, oh, I'm interested in that. What? There are men that want to like crawl around on the floor and clean my house while I take a bath? Yes, please.
That's wonderful. So then, when did you first, like, what was your first dalliance with being a pro dom?
I mean, wow. I was really into needle play. And so being
there was like a fad like a couple years ago in New York, like every sex party, everyone was doing needle play for 6 months. I was like, wait, what is this about?
Yeah. And in the San Francisco Bay Area, it was like maybe 10 years ago. And, I am obviously into tattoos and piercings.
Very much.
And so I actually tried as a needle bottom first because I feel that you should have to experience the sensation of what you're doing before you do it to someone else. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed it. It was like drugs. It was like you get high, you get endorphins, you get like a little rush off of it. But of course, like I'm not a submissive. So it was just for the experience. And then I started doing needle play and people started approaching me. I actually took a class on piercing from Fakir Mustafar, who was the pioneer of body piercing in like the 60s and 70s in San Francisco. And so I had acquired some skills. And then as I was doing more in the scene, people started approaching me to the point where, you know, I said, look, 5 people have asked me to top them at this party. Like, if you want me to come and top you, you have to offer some kind of incentive. People started offering to pay me. And, you know, from there, it just kind of progressed. And I realized, like, as a hot woman, like, of course I can charge men for this. Like, and so I started doing more traditional BDSM, you know, your floggings, your all the normal stuff, normal BDSM.
Right.
And then when I found like FinDom and started doing a lot of online domination, I developed being a high-tech dominatrix and being the tech dom.
Yep.
And I started exploring how I could dominate men from afar. Because it's so much more comfortable for me to be at my house than have to go to a dungeon and, you know,
see them
or talk to them. And so I really developed some methods of being able to control people over long distances. And some of that is like controlling people's computers, controlling their phones. There's a fetish called blackmail fetish, which is kind of like information control that is very attractive to a lot of people. And so I kind of developed a suite of software and a method and branded myself. I have an app.
You're very anti-iPhone, though. I took that personally.
Fuck the iPhone.
Ouch, that's hate speech.
iPhones are for moms and old people who don't know how to actually use their technology.
Well, I do identify as a mother.
Yeah,
I'm just
you look like one.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
One day. Oh. Dreams. But so like, so were you always like a tech geek?
Yeah, I worked in the high-tech industry in Silicon Valley for about a decade. I started doing quality assurance in video games. And so as a video game tester,
Tester? That's like every child, that's like half the kid's dream job.
It's only their dreams because they're stupid and don't know what work is. And then I moved from doing QA to doing project management, also in high tech. And so I was working in San Francisco when I kind of was also doing this. And I was also finishing my master's degree, which is in information technology.
So you're like low-key nerd.
I wouldn't say low-key. I'm the tech dom.
Okay, you're the tech dom. But like growing up, were you kind of nerdy even just...
Yeah, I was always into technology. I was always into computers. As soon as we got the internet in my house, I was on it all the time. My mom picking up the phone, ruining my Napster downloads, you know.
Oh, good old Napster, where we all discover. It's like, when Napster was of age, like porn, it wasn't about having preference. It was just whatever came through.
What could you download the fastest?
What was the fastest? What was a correct, like what was a complete file? And then that's just what you're into.
Yes.
It's like, I guess I'm into incest porn because that's what came through.
Look,
here.
I just spent 46 minutes downloading a GIF. Like whatever this GIF is going to do it.
Getting that one picture. Or did you do the AOL chat rooms?
No, I'm too young for that.
Okay, too young. Oh, those were fun. It was just a bunch of dudes pretending to be lesbians trading like professional photos with each other.
We call that Twitter.
Twitter? Oh.
Actually, I'm surprised that you are the gender in the picture of that I've seen of you on Twitter. I was definitely expecting maybe like older, fatter, balder.
More troller. Balder, it's working its way through. But I'm trying to keep it in shape here. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten carbs in days. Someone help me.
That just means you're in LA.
Do you have celebrity clients?
I cannot confirm or deny any celebrity clients.
Without maybe names, but would you say you've got?
I have clients who believe that they are celebrities. Yes.
Oh, that's even worse. That's grosser. That's way worse. Do you have a lot of influencer? Is Logan Paul? Because I could see him totally being a little sissy.
I don't even know who that is. No, I do have some celebrity clients, and especially celebrities from other countries. So people that we might not consider celebrities here, but are considered celebrities in somewhere else.
Yeah, they're big in Japan.
Sure.
Do you have to go through different protocols with them, or do you treat them like any other pig?
No, I treat them like anybody else. Especially when you first establish a DS relationship, you typically discuss limits, you negotiate, you talk about what kind of relationship you want to have. And so those clients usually just make it clear to me, like, I am a celebrity in my country. Please do not expose me in any way. And I say, okay, I don't care.
So you set before you're actually in mode. You go through like, okay, you might play with the idea of threatening to release this, but I have the comfort of knowing you're not actually going to.
Right. That's typical BDSM limits and, exercising safe, sane, and consensual play.
Sure, but Findom with exposing information, I feel like that's not one that most like kinksters are really used to negotiating. I don't think most of them are used to negotiating like, oh, I'm going to call your work.
I agree. Most are not. And I'm actually very clear with a lot of people when they first approach me. Now, some people approach me without ever discussing limits. Like I've gotten emails from people where I've never spoken to them before, but there's a picture of their driver's license. There's a picture of them. There's a picture of them sucking a dick. There's a picture of their mom. There's their mom's email.
And that's their application.
Yeah. And exactly. And, I will typically email those people back if they've sent me money. If they don't send me money, I just ignore them. But if they send me money, I email them back and say, okay, do you want to discuss limits, or is this just like go crazy? And if they really say go crazy, then I have to assume that the point of the play for them is to be exposed. And for a lot of people, I'm sure you've seen the Loser Hall of Shame on my website, mistressharley.com.
It's so fun. Everyone must go look at that. Maybe not safe for work, but must go browse through there.
It actually is safe for work. I censor all genitalia on that site.
It's censored, but I still would say it's safe for work. Like I'll put it this way. The one of the people who lives here walked in to go change the laundry. I switched the browser I was on just for while she walked past.
Don't be ashamed, Billy. Don't be ashamed that you look at my website all the time. I know.
All the time.
So a lot of people want to be exposed and pay to be exposed. And I've even had people pay me to expose them to their wives, pay me to home wreck them and ruin their relationships. I think for some people, that is truly what they want. They really want everyone to know I'm a big sissy. They really want to end their relationship without doing the hard work of having to sit down and end their relationship. And so some people don't consider that to be ethical, but I do, as long as it's negotiated and understood.
And when you ask someone, hey, no limits, we're going crazy, like you're trusting this is an adult. And if you want to do some adult fucking things, you got to be an adult and express your limits.
Exactly. And if it ever goes like to a point that's really too far, I am bribable. You can always offer me money to stop. And certainly I've had clients pay $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for me to stop exposing them, stop blackmailing them. I'm using air quotes blackmail because that's what they wanted. Yeah, blackmail. So like people like that. Some people are really into it.
Yeah. But have you ever like felt bad about something, a scene someone wanted? Did you ever turn down some sort of scene or request because like you were like, that's fucked up even for me?
There are requests I get that are illegal or unethical. So like there's castration fetishists, and their fetish is to have me personally, I'm not a doctor, to have me personally castrate them. I say no. I say, if you really want to be castrated, I will help you go through the process of finding a doctor to do that.
Oh my.
And I even have one very long-term slave who lives in Germany who, as part of a gender transition, had a castration fetish. And I assisted them in going and finding the doctor and going to Mexico. I was their phone call after out of surgery, letting me know that they had survived this procedure. Now they're back at home perfectly happy. They told me that their only regret was that they hadn't done it 20 years earlier because this person's a little older.
Yeah, sure.
And so I really don't think anything is really crazy. I think there are suicide fetishists. That's, of course, out of line. People who have actually asked me, if I paid you, would you come and like strangle me? There's no amount of consent that makes that not a crime.
Right. We have the case study for it. That dude who like ate the dude's penis.
Yes.
You know, you do end up in jail.
Yeah, no, you're gonna end up in jail. So I don't do anything that I feel would be illegal or truly unethical or truly put someone's life in danger. But outside of that, you're an adult, I'm an adult. If we're interacting and we're both getting what we want, then I just consider that freedom of sexuality.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh, that's so wild to me that I still don't get that. Now, where'd you get the idea for the Loser Hall of Fame?
People just kept asking me to expose them, and I said, okay, well, if you pay me $50, I'll post a picture of you on my website. And that was so popular that I'm like, okay, I'm going to brand this. I actually have trademarked Loser Hall of Shame. And I continue to post people's pictures there. Sometimes they get posted there because they pay. Sometimes they get posted there because we've pre-agreed that if they fail to do something, they'll end up exposed on the Hall of Shame. So it's a half punishment and a half pleasure, depending on what angle you approach it.
Now, what's like the legal? Now, do you still ever do like, because you used to do pro doming, so do you ever still do in-client work, or is that 100% past you?
No, I still do some of it, but it's so expensive to see me that very few people can afford to even book me for
You're
that.
purposefully outpricing yourself to say, just go to someone else.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I don't want
If I
don't
make-
want to lift my pretty finger right now.
If I make $10,000 sitting at home in my pajamas, why the fuck would I leave my house?
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great
So yeah, you can still book a real-time session with me. It's just very, very expensive.
And is there anything like did you have to like consult a lawyer when you really started like moving into FinDom? Did you kind of have to go?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I got to ask some lawyer questions.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm an incorporated business. I'm a legitimate business. In order to be able to process credit cards, you have to be a business. In order to pay your taxes, you have to be a business. I know a lot of pro-doms do not necessarily go that route in terms of filing taxes and being above board. But for me, I wanted the legal protection of being a business, having a lawyer, going through all the normal processes. That's why I own all my intellectual property. I have trademarks, I have copyrights, I have an album, I've got books. I have a lot of material to protect and a business to protect. So yeah, I have a lawyer. I have the same lawyer that King.com has.
Well, what were some of the questions you had to ask up front when you were like setting up shop?
Oh, well, a lot about blackmail fetish specifically because the word, blackmail indicates an illegal activity, but it's really not blackmail. And that's why I call it information control, because it's where somebody is willingly handing over a specific set of information for the purpose of a sexual power exchange dynamic. And so I asked a lot of questions about, okay, where's the line here? And one of the things my lawyer said to me is that with information control fetish, people always have to be able to have a way out. So that's why I offer, like, I'm bribable. You can buy out of a relationship with me, and we can even pre-discuss before we even start what that will be. So for some people, it's only like $200 that they have to pay me for me to just go away. For other people, it's $10,000, but that's on their request.
Yeah.
So, as long as everything's consensual in writing, you can show it in a court. The idea that someone is going to come say Mistress Harley blackmailed me without my consent and then have to deal with all the paperwork, the publicity, being in the public record.
It's like the trailer of that new movie Hustlers was like, yeah, what is he going to say? Like, oh, I went to a strip club and spent $5,000. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, you almost don't want to admit that. So you're in that position. That's why when people say like, oh, I don't know if I should like cam because what someone finds me out, is like someone that works finds you out, they have to admit that they were there too, like in a way.
Eventually, if you are successful enough on the internet, either as an influencer, cam girl, or pro dom, you have to accept that people are going to find out. My whole family knows what I do. I didn't come out to them necessarily, but I've been on TV. So there is a point where everyone kind of figures it out, and you just have to have no shame in your game. So many women, especially, pass through sex work on their way to or from other careers. And the idea that there's this big stigma that it'll ruin your life. I feel like it's like what old people used to say about tattoos. You'll never get a job. Like, aren't we past that as a society? Cardi B has a Grammy. Like, come on.
I don't know if we're past there yet, but I feel like we are genuinely on that path.
I mean, Kim K is like one of the highest paid female celebrities in the United States, and she's famous from a sex tape. And if you're saying that she's not a sex worker, I would argue that.
For sure. I mean, I would then also throw in, when you're coming from this like big major family, you get a little bit more leeway than when you're just like some fucking rando, like, because Cardi B is a lottery ticket. Hers is just that ticket that she's the 1 in 300 million that hit. But I do think we're in that direction. I do think, more people are willing to at least be open about it, or we're looking at people as sex workers that we didn't, like Sylvester Stallone.
Right. He was a sex worker.
He
Absolutely.
did a porn.
Yeah.
That counts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anyone that you've watched have sex is a sex worker.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. How you doing, Peep Show? My Patreon folks who've seen my dick in various ways.
Oh, that's why I'm not on your Patreon.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to see that. You know what? You want to know why it's even grosser? Okay. So on the platform, now Patreon's not really genuinely anti-adult content. They're just like, we can't credit card process certain things. So we can post nudes, but they have to be a very specific thing. So for dicks, they can't be like in a sexual act, either with someone or jerking off or mimicking jerking off. Also, they have to be flaccid. So you can't post hard cocks. So I have literally sent emails to Patreon with a dick pic going, is
this dick okay?
Is this within guidelines? And I was told
I need a TOU check on this cock.
Well, at first I sent an email like nervous, be like, may I send this picture to check? And they were like, yeah, you can just send it. It's like that, just, you don't have to ask first. Like, we know what this email line is. And so I've like literally said, like, is this soft enough for you?
Well, this is a whole conversation we're having in our society right now, and a reoccurring conversation about pornography, right? What is pornography? Instagram is constantly shutting down the accounts of models who are not producing pornography, are not even showing their nipples, not showing any genitalia, but they're showing too much skin. Is this pornography? My Patreon was shut down.
Yep.
I don't do nudity. No one ever sees me naked, but my Patreon was shut down as pornography.
But they also might see yours as potentially like technically sex work or something.
That's the question, isn't it?
Is it or is it not?
Is every influencer who posts a picture of her ass in a bikini a sex worker, or is she a model, or am I a model? You don't get to see my tits, but I do porn because the stuff I make is specifically for guys to jerk off to, but in any other context would not be considered pornography.
Right. And that's now that is what the definition is supposed to be, something that's meant to arouse. Now, your stuff's meant to arouse and you're not shy saying so. That Instagram chick with her ass, in a thong.
Meant to arouse.
She knows it's meant to arouse, but she's like, what? No, I'm just like being proud of my body. And then also what's fucked up with, especially with Instagram, is so like I'm right now I'm dating one of those like, body positive influencer gals. She's a big gal.
I was going to say fat. Yeah. Sorry.
She says fat. She's a fat babe. It's okay. And, but because they have an algorithm to detect when you're showing what that
too much skin,
but because they have more skin,
right,
even if they're wearing the same exact one piece,
right,
they get flagged just because it thinks that there's so much skin, some of it must be nude.
Right.
Which is like just also, and then it's like, why do we even fucking care?
I mean, it's a really problematic issue right now. And especially, the government doesn't need to censor anything when private corporations are willing to do that dirty work for them. And one of the big reoccurring issues in sex work as well is, as you mentioned with Patreon, the payment processors, Visa, MasterCard, they charge more for what they would call high risk materials. And that's like adult materials, gambling. What they cite is that there are more chargebacks for those industries, but that's actually unsubstantiated. I've been in this industry 5 years with my own credit card processor. I've had less than 10 chargebacks in my entire career. And the idea that adult industry is somehow high risk is why PayPal doesn't allow adult Venmo, Square, pretty much any payment application or process you can think of will shut down any account that they think is suspicious of doing sex work or adult work. And that is just straight up workplace discrimination domination against people who are doing legal jobs.
And that's something I'm looking to right now, because I'm looking to actually launching what I call like a fantasy fulfillment service. I want to be like a wedding planner for your biggest sexual fantasies. You need a gangbang organized. I organized 3 in January for friends. Like I got you.
That is a real service. Yes.
Yeah, I got a skill set to make whatever thing you want to do done safely, responsibly, whatever. And but I know like I'm gonna have to do some lawyer questions, and I'm gonna have to figure out my payment processor, because I don't know. It's like, can I use flowery enough language I can just use Square, or am I gonna have to like go the route with the ones that take more money,
or do Bitcoin, which is under the radar in terms of censorship for now. There are other cryptocurrencies that are under the radar in terms of censorship. So all those cryptos, like one of the reasons they're popular is for drugs and sex, right?
And a little bit of murder. But wait, so do you take crypto?
Oh, of course, I take Bitcoin. Absolutely.
And so should we feel? What do you think? Should we feel safe? I'm always a late adopter. I got a smartphone in 2012.
Well, you told me you have an iPhone, so I know you're not into technology.
So, guys, I didn't even have to pay for that insult. That's amazing.
That's right. This is technically free. You owe me money when we're done, Billy.
Oh God. This is a trailer, everyone, for what you can. Just a little taste of what you can hear. But yeah, so like, what process did you have to, I know this is a nerdier part of the conversation, it's a little less sexy, but like what did you have to go to like have a credit card processor?
You have to be a business. I mean, once you're an incorporated business, you can have a merchant account.
Oh, you can? Even if they think it might be like a sex work related
No, they just
business?
charge you more. Visa and MasterCard don't say no to adult payment processing.
They just take more.
It's the puritanical asshole platforms that say no based on Visa and MasterCard's assessment of high risk.
Well, the other thing I take with high risk is the outdated obscenity laws we have in this country that are technically still on the books, maybe not ever getting enforced. So the other part of high risk is like, if facing prosecution, look at Backpage, the whole site shuts down because of one section. Craigslist got rid of casual encounters. Not, they didn't shut down the whole site, but they're like, we're going to take out this section to protect the whole. And I've talked with Patreon CEO personally. He's just like, we have to protect the whole thing. So we have to figure out the way to make this
right. And Backpage, they were actively cooperating with law enforcement. And in fact, there are documents from the Department of Justice talking about how difficult it was to prosecute Backpage because of how cooperative they were with law enforcement. So when they say they shut down Backpage for child sex trafficking, that's complete fucking bullshit. If they actually wanted to catch child sex traffickers, they would have left Backpage up and continued to arrest the people that posted those ads. Instead, they shut down the entire platform to really hurt the sex industry as a whole.
And they said whores can't be super smart. Well, look at that.
I know a lot of whores that are really well educated and have chosen to do sex work because it's the best paying for the least amount of work.
Isn't it wild that that's the stereotype, though? It's like, they're just a bunch of stupid hoes. It's like, hey.
Well, that's the patriarchy.
Oh, yeah? Is that what I'm a part of? I know. I feel like I'm just like, take a picture of me and then post it. Be like, that's the enemy. Go forth and crush it.
Well, you are cisgendered het male, right?
Yeah. Probably straight.
Yeah.
All that. Male until I figure. And I say male for now until I realize I got gerrymandered out of identifying as a man. But until they figure out the gender theory there. I'll stick with this.
Sure.
I'm going to ride the privilege out at least. Until...
Well, you could start by wearing panties, maybe some stockings, maybe grow your hair out, and then at least you're divesting yourself of a little bit of privilege.
Oh, but then again, I want to keep the benefits. Got to keep those bennies.
Yeah. Oh, there's the patriarchy right there.
Right there too. Me coming in, taking sex work jobs away.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah. Well, so you also, and we'll get to that in a second, but you also help teach people, I'm assuming women, how to be findoms.
I do. Yeah. I feel that pretty much any woman who's confident, powerful, could findom, could take a man's money, could convince a man to give her money. We see it happen all the time.
Sure. Well, in within the realm of the free tips you're down to give, like what's like the first step when you're like, I want to just take money from men?
I mean, the first step...
Make a Twitter account? Is that...
I mean, I guess everyone would say make a Twitter account, fake it till you make it. Really, it's about developing your own sense of self-worth and self-confidence, monetizing your time. Right now, probably every woman that listens to this podcast, if women listen to this podcast at all, take hot selfies and send them to men for free. right? We do that in the context of relationships.
Right.
You talk about influencers on Instagram putting up like hot. If you post a picture of yourself in a hot bikini, you should be getting paid for that, ladies. Like
Missed opportunity.
If you are sexting a guy right now, you should be getting paid for that, ladies. You should commodify your time. If your time is valuable, then everything you do is valuable, and you should never be giving it away for free. That's number one in Findom.
Yeah. Well, and so when I had I never liked calling her a pay pig. Felt very uncomfortable. So I just said pay slut. I was like, that feels safer to say. But I had one of those for like about a year, and I would check.
What would you say your total dollar amount was from this woman?
Oh, like you would laugh. You would be like, "Wow, you
that's
did
why I'm asking.
So much work.
Make me laugh."
It's like I could have told you a joke. No, I by the end of it, I was getting $500 a month. But I also, yeah.
I mean,
I basically was being like an internet boyfriend who told you when to go to the bathroom to masturbate. It was most of what I did.
Okay, so it was like half sugar baby, half dom.
Yeah, I was. Well, so when I first hit you up, it was that we did that for like 6 months. Then she wanted a little break, and then she came back, and then she was like, "I want to do that again, but without the like the fin dom part." But what
I would like to continue doing this for free.
Yeah, without like the financial, punishment. So I was like, okay, and I just raised the rate so that would offset. I'd be like, cool, I won't punish you with money. It'll just cost more.
Right.
So yeah, I would get about $500 a month, which is like.
So you were commodifying your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, I consider myself a pretty damn good sexter if I'm not jerking off. Because if I am, blood flow circulation. You can't do both at the same time.
No, men are useless the minute their dicks are hard.
Exactly. But I was like, if I'm in the back of a comedy club waiting to go up, I can totally write you such a fantasy novel right now. That I can do. Absolutely. And then I'll be like, now edge yourself for 5 minutes because I got to go do a 5-minute set.
Wow. I feel so bad for her. Girl, you should have been getting paid for that.
Yeah. Do you ever have female clients?
I have people who tell me they're female.
Right. I used to webcam, and then people are like, were they all dudes? I'm like, I assume they were all dudes.
I assume anyone who says that they're female and doesn't send me like corroborating photos is not. I do have a lot of trans female clients, and especially who, again, kind of want that extra push when it comes to gender transition. They want almost like a personal trainer. They need accountability. So they need someone telling them, okay, now you're going to go get a wig. No, now you're going to go get a better wig. Like, now you're going to shave all your body hair, and, kind of holding someone's hand and walking them through it. So I would say those are the women.
Do you find yourself taking more care with those types of clients?
I do. I
are your insults a little softer?
They are. I like my transgender clients, and I feel like they are actually making themselves better by becoming women. Obviously, like being a man, you're like the most disgusting, useless piece of shit on earth. So by becoming a woman, you're actually aspiring. That's actually my
Tinder bio.
Oh, I bet it is.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That means you're going to get the right responses.
Yes.
So yeah, I consider becoming a woman to be like you're making yourself into a better thing. You're making your life better. You're making everybody around you probably happier because you're you're emasculating yourself, feminizing yourself, making yourself into something that's a nicer thing. So yeah.
So you you just chill at home with your PJs, like what?
Yeah.
Now that you don't have to actually like go do much work other than just like insult someone. Which do you even consider it work at this point, or is it just second nature?
It's just who I am.
Just insulting men is just like I came out of my mom just like saying like, "Oh, Doc, your breath smells." I don't know.
I'm so much funnier than that, but
I don't know.
But yes, it just always has come so naturally to me, and I just feel that that there's just so much to work with.
Right. So then, what do you do with all that free time?
I mean, I just finished. I just beat Bowser in New Super Mario Brothers for the Wii. I've been watching all of Werner Herzog's movies from the early 70s with like Klaus Kinski, who I love. I've been going to. We have like so many theaters and video stores here in Los Angeles. The new Alamo Drafthouse just opened. I love eating, bars and restaurants. I go to the gym every day for a couple hours because I'm just a fitness freak. And of course I still do, like, I would say if there's any work that I do, it's that I still do film video. I still like take pictures of myself. I still post on the social medias. Yeah. Making a content stream when you have fans is important. So, and then of course I still interact with some of my especially long-term slaves. I usually have probably 5 or 10 slaves that I talk to on a daily basis who pay me on a daily basis, and I check in with them, or I give them assignments or tasks, or I lock them in the closet all night, or I have quite a few slaves who have cameras in their house, so I'll log into their cameras and see what they're doing and scream at them. But it's pretty much whatever amuses me now.
Yeah. Well, then what's the punishment that amuses you the most to give out?
Corner time is pretty fun when, like, if I have a camera in someone's home and I just make them stand in the corner for like sometimes hours at a time, sometimes balancing shit on their head, sometimes standing on one leg. Like, it really is whatever I think is funny. There was one guy whenever I was out having lunch with my friends, I'd pull up his Nest Cam and I would turn on the microphone and I'd be like, okay, get on your knees and fucking bow. And he would get on his knees and he'd bow up and down until I was satisfied. And then I'd be like, okay, go back to whatever fucking bullshit you were doing.
Yeah.
But that guy, he had to be naked 24/7. So like every time I'd pull up his Nest Cam, he had to be naked or he'd be punished.
Wow.
And if he was bad, I'd make him open up all of his windows so all of his neighbors could see how disgusting and fat and pathetic he was. I do really enjoy this, again, with the cameras in the house. So a lot of people are in a different time zone. So I have slaves in Germany, and sometimes it's like 3 a.m. for them while I'm like eating lunch. And I'll pull up like ghost noises, and I'll start playing them quietly while they're sleeping, like children laughing. And I just wait for them to like wake up and be horrified and terrified. I have videos of all of this. So if you ever want to see them.
I wonder if you could remote lock someone's fridge and freezer.
Well, there are a lot of Bluetooth and high-tech distance locks now. So I'm definitely experimenting with some of those. Also, long-distance like dog collars and dog toys.
So you're just like, you got a subscription to like Wired magazine and like keeping up with the newest tech, and be like, now how can I turn this and make it sadistic?
Wired should have a subscription to me.
Well, everyone, as I think you think should have a subscription to you.
That's true. Your life would be better.
Yes, it would be much improved. But that's, does that get exhausting at any point because what you do requires so much creative energy. And when I was telling you about the Dom client I almost had and then canceled and lost, oh no. That, to me, the reason why I wanted to I charged as much as I did, at least, was because 24-hour DS for a whole week. I'm like, okay, I got to come up with a lot of ideas.
Oh my God.
You were going to get
$2,500 for how long of work? How much work?
2 days.
That's like $10 an hour. That's like not even minimum wage.
Yeah, but as a comedian, that's like so much money.
Oh my God.
No, but just the idea of,
this is why I can't go into comedy. People are like, wow, Mistress Harley's funny. And I'm like, I'm way too pretty.
We don't need another, adult entertainer doing comedy. Please.
Oh, wow. It sounds like you're biased against people taking your comedy jobs.
Yeah, a little bit. I'll, at least without doing the work. If you're out there hoofing it at open mics, then good for you.
Doing the work. All you have to be is funny, son.
You gotta craft those jokes. The sex stories run out after a while. You gotta tighten things up. But the just the idea of like there's a lot of creative juice going into coming up with scenes, executing them, putting on the character that I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
So all these ideas, all these different punishments, like, does that get exhausting for you?
No,
do you take a break?
I'm really a sadistic person at heart. I enjoy Schadenfreude. Even before I was ever a pro dom, like my idea of fun was watching treadmill accident videos. So I have an endless supply of like horrible things to do to people. You
didn't murder animals as a kid, right? Because that's a sign of being a psychopath.
Animals are innocent.
Just making sure.
No, humans deserve it. Yeah, not murder, just punishment. Yeah. But yeah, it's always been really easy for me. I've always been amused at other people's pain, and I've always been able to really pinpoint what can make someone squirm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so you never do. Like, if you ever felt like, I just don't want to answer all those beeps, for you don't have, I guess there's a luxury in that you don't have to tell them, hey, I'm taking a break. You just can ignore them.
Yeah, I just turn off my phone if I don't want to deal with them.
Deal with it.
Or, sometimes personal stuff happens. Someone it passes away. You got to go to a wedding. Like, I just turn off. Sometimes I'll tell people that have been serving me for a long time, like the people I check in with every day, I'll say, hey, I'm going to be off the grid for a couple days, whatever.
Right.
But no, I have no responsibility to any of these people. And I do sell a lot of content. So, even if I'm not online answering these idiots, like they're still buying my videos and jerking off to my pictures. And, I come back to thousands of dollars in sales without ever doing anything.
Without like some sort of like tragic life event happening, do you find that you sometimes do just turn it off and be like, I just want like this Sunday for 6 hours, I'm going to just be off, I just need it for me.
Oh, sure. And that's a lot of my activities preclude even being able to look at my phone. I like going to the movies, and you don't check your phone in the movie theater unless you're an asshole. I like going to the spa, and you're not allowed to bring your phone with you to the spa. A lot of the activities I find I enjoy the most are actually ones that preclude being able to even have the technology with me.
That's so freeing, because like other adult entertainer types like don't get that luxury. They have to kind of be on it all the time. So it's dope that you don't have to like go justify or explain it. I think that's pretty cool.
I think, when you're having to do anything you don't want to do, it feels like work. But for me, I don't do anything I don't want to do. That's actually the number one rule of Mistress Harley. I never do anything I don't want to do. So that's it.
Okay. When you were starting out, were there any missteps that you like some trial and error you had to learn?
I feel like yes. I'd be hard pressed to.
Well, I know you think you're perfect, but like
think
if
of
you
any
had
examples. Yeah, I mean, sure. There's a learning experience for everybody. I used PayPal when I first got started, and then lost a bunch of money because my PayPal account got shut down because I hadn't gotten savvy enough to realize that I couldn't use those payment methods for adult business. So obviously, there's a learning curve.
What about with testing people's boundaries and figuring out what actually is too far?
Oh, sure.
What your own personal ethics or like what be like? Actually, you know what? I did that. Don't feel comfortable doing that one again.
Yeah, I will say I hate scat. And so I won't do any like scat sessions. I won't even talk about it because to me it's gross and I don't do what I don't want to do. But I had to do a couple of those sessions before I was like, okay, I don't ever want to do this again.
Right. So I'll give it the college try, but not for me.
If it doesn't repulse me in some way, like right off the bat, I'll try pretty much anything just to see if I like it.
Right.
It's like the buffet of life.
Yeah, and but unlike other people who do that with just exploring the sexualities, you were getting paid for it, which is pretty sick.
That's the best.
Yeah. When how did the family react when they started seeing you in the media doing what you do?
It was all really positive, actually. My mother told me that she was so proud of me and that she just thought it was like the best thing ever. She wanted to tell all her friends. I was like, Mom, please don't. I just don't want to. I don't want to have all these conversations with all your friends. I had one cousin. I didn't realize that she knew what I was doing, but she kept saying stuff. I kept seeing her. She'd be like, I am just so proud of you. You are just doing your dream. You are living your life. And I went home and I thought, she probably knows what I'm up to. And so I called her later and she was like, oh yeah, everyone knows. One of my uncles is like a big porn hound. And so I'm pretty sure he found me. Like, shout out to Uncle Peter if you're listening.
Yeah, hey, Uncle Peter, clean yourself up. Okay, we know what you were doing.
Yeah, and when you find out someone's a sex worker, keep that fucking shit to yourself.
What's that mean?
It just means that it's really impolite to out people because you don't know how they're going to respond and how family members are going to respond. Yeah, he did. That's how everybody else found out.
That's how everyone found out. After he came and cleaned, he was just like...
We had a little family gathering, and afterwards, I think, the news was out. And again, no one responded badly, but I would have really held that against him if I had lost a familial relationship because he had told somebody that.
He's also robbing you of your opportunity to share that on your own terms.
Sure. Again, it didn't turn out badly, and so I don't have any hard feelings, but it's just polite. Just don't out people. Don't out them if they're gay. Don't out them if they're trans. Don't out them if they're sex workers. Let people decide when to do that for themselves.
Absolutely. Do you ever see a retirement of Mistress Harley?
I actually don't. I've thought about it, just in that there's this stereotype that you can only do sex work when you're young and when you're beautiful. And for a while I was like, maybe someday I will retire. But especially the longer I'm in the scene and the more slaves I have and the more fans I have, and I see more older women doing very well. And there are actually not a lot of older women that continue doing sex work. And so because I really use this as my lifestyle, I feel like, no, I'm probably never going to stop. Like I might stop taking phone calls at some point, but I'm never going to like take down my websites and erase my content and pretend it never happened. Like
Right. There's also like when you're in the adult industry, unlike other industries, like when you want to retire, you can leave the stuff up. And retiring could just mean I don't shoot anything new, but you keep that passive income forever.
Passive income is key.
Yeah. So you have all these different revenue streams, which is so impressive. I'm just like, this is so cool. You teach other gals how to dom. You got your pay pigs doing all sorts of different things. You sell toys. You sell your things that you've worn.
I also have an album called Tech Dom Financial Domination. I have
album as in like a music album.
Yeah, it's a CD.
Okay.
You can get it on Amazon and Spotify. Everywhere music is sold, you can find Tech Dom Financial Domination. I have 20 books on Amazon, all in varying
20 books?
Yeah, all varying topics from high tech domination to blackmail fetish to sissification. I try to be in every platform and every content stream. I'm currently, working on putting together some kind of program for Amazon Prime. I have a movie review already up on Amazon Prime, Amazon streaming. So, it's just about dominating every platform.
Yeah, not just men, but the world.
That's right.
That's killer. Do you ever think about fucking around with Twitch?
I already got banned from Twitch.
You got banned from Twitch? How'd you get banned from Twitch?
I'm too hot for Twitch.
I mean,
so...
clearly, obviously. Wait, what? Is there any story behind that?
No, there's literally no story. I made a Twitch account. I hooked it up to my Twitter account. I'm pretty sure someone looked at my Twitter account and said nope and banned me immediately. But I do play a lot of video games, and there are a bunch of new streaming services as well. And not to badmouth, but Twitch's streaming service isn't that great. You actually
badmouth away.
You have to set up like way too much. You got to have a server. Like, what a fucking pain in the ass. Why is this not just a point and click? Like there, even 10 years ago, were companies like Xfire where you could broadcast your gaming with one click. So the idea that you have to like set up all this shit is foolish. But there are a lot of other streaming sites, and I keep thinking about setting one up. But I actually really like playing older games, and so like I play on the PlayStation 2 still all the time. Like I'm replaying Final Fantasy X, and I love it. But you can't stream stuff from PlayStation 2 because it's not even on the internet. So. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you think people need to know about Mistress Harley before we go?
MistressHarley.com. I'm on I'm on Twitter at TechDom. I'm on Instagram at TechDom. I'm everywhere. I am your fantasy.
She is a fantastic follow. I love following FinDoms in general on Twitter because y'all are hilarious. There's another one that I had on a bonus episode a year or two ago, Goddess Venus, and I just love watching the insults back at people just out of nowhere, and I like them, and then I respond with laughing emojis because just so that everyone can see I can get away with it, but when they try, they get yelled at, and I'm like, oh. Watching y'all berate men on the internet is truly a pleasure.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
And a source of entertainment. And thank you so much for chatting with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, and why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everybody. Go to MistressHarley.com. Do it now.
Yeah, I used to check in with Mistress Harley on Twitter here and there when I needed some FinDom tips. And I got to say, she's a sweetheart, even though she doesn't want you to know it. Make sure you're following her at TechDom at the places. Make sure you're following me, by the way. I'm on Twitter at @TheBillyPresida, and I'm on Instagram at BillyIsPresida. You know what? Just search Billy Presida on Twitter and Instagram. You're going to find me. And let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Make a comment on the Man Whore Podcast Facebook fan page. We're going to have an episode comment thread over there. Or you can send me an email over at manwhorepod@gmail.com. Tomorrow, I've got a bonus episode coming out with one of my exes, Ashley Ray Little. This is a bonus episode because, we had to kind of stop early. We were too busy flirting with each other the entire recording. We figured we should figure out what the fuck is going on, and we'll just re-record next time she's in New York City when we can, handle 45 minutes of not trying to touch each other. This one we kind of had to turn the mics off a little sooner than planned, and it was not enough for a full show. So it's going out to my Patreon members at the $5 and up level. The $5 level, by the way, that's where not only can you see my nudes, but you get access to over 100 bonus episodes of the Man Whore Podcast. Become a member today and support the show at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Next week, we've got one of my exes. We got one of those episodes coming out. But before she was someone I got naked with, she was a fan of the show. And we're going to try to figure out if I should keep doing that. I'll share Lindsay with y'all next week, but until then, stay slutty.
And what?
I think
I don't even know. What's your question?
I don't know.
Here's what happens when two people who think each other are cute and like actually like each other get awkward because it's like, here's talking about something primal and I'm like you.